just start by giving you guys a little bit of background about myself. My name is David Hannum. I'm a full-time English language teacher here at the United Nations. I just started in September. I've been using Twitter since about 2008, 2009, and Twitter was invented in 2006. That's when it came out. So I was an early adopter of Twitter, but I was using it more for educational purposes. I was using it in my grammar classes to help students learn how to write English grammar. Only after that, maybe in about 2010, 2011, I started actually using it for personal reasons. Now, when you see my account, you'll see I am not a power user. In fact, I only have about 300 tweets, and I've been a member with this particular account since 2010. If you search me on Twitter, you might find 20 different accounts because I used to make one for every grammar class that I taught. But my main account is @dhannum. Okay, I'm going to type that here in the chat box as well, okay? I am @dhannum. This is my personal account. Sorry, one second. Okay. And even with that personal account, I've only made 300 tweets. I mostly use Twitter to consume. I'm not a power user. I'm a power consumer. So I use Twitter to consume a lot of news information. Twitter, as we learned in the Why Twitter webinar, Twitter is a big rumor mill, particularly for sports. So I find myself on there a lot of times just combing through rumors, stuff like that. Now, even though I'm not a power user, I think I have a really good familiarity with Twitter. And so that's my background with it. Now, let me just preface this by saying Twitter is amorphous in that it changes very frequently. The functionalities, the pages, how to use it. You know, it seems like every 3 months it changes. In fact, since the last time I gave this webinar last term, and as a matter of fact, they've already made 2 significant changes. So you have to really stay involved to keep abreast of what changes are with Twitter. Okay? Okay. So, getting ready to begin. By the end of this seminar, you should have a general understanding of how to use the various functions of the Twitter platform so that you can be an active member of the Twitter community. And when I say active member, I mean that you are on there on a regular basis, and it could just be consuming. It doesn't even have to be interacting, although, of course, that's one of the main reasons to use it, is to tweet and interact. But even if you're just a consumer, that would be considered an active member. And Twitter is a community, right? It is a very particular language community, as a matter of fact, as well. So you have to learn the norms of the community, like you have to learn the norms of any other community. And we will pause 1 second as we have our beautiful testing, as we always do. This message has become our theme song here, you know, so embrace it, okay? So if you want to become an active member of the Twitter community, how are you going to do that? Well, I've kind of come up with 10 steps to Twitter, as I like to call it. I think if you can accomplish these 10 steps, if you follow these 10 steps, then you'll be an active member of the community. So this is kind of the plan, what we want to get through today, these 10 steps. You've already sent out yesterday information about how to establish an account, so I'm going to begin with complete a profile, okay? And as you can see, I'm just going to go through this here. This is what I plan to accomplish. I'm not going to be referring to the PowerPoint because I'm going to be doing a live demonstration of it, so that's why I advise you to download this or this 10 steps to Twitter sheet, and then you can have it to make sure you're following along with where we're going, okay? So we are now going to go to the second part, complete the profile, and I'm now going to share the application, and you're going to see my Twitter account, okay? Yeah, I've already pointed that out. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, sure. Jody is asking me to point out that if, when I'm doing the screen share, you can see that little green box that's hanging down. You should be able to put your cursor over that green box, and the menu should drop down, and then you have your Q&A right there on the right-hand side, so you can ask your question as we do it. And I already see we have a question here from Huda about creating lists. That will definitely be a part of the webinar, but more towards the end, okay, because that's a little bit of an advanced function. Okay. So second step is to complete your profile. Okay, so once you've established an account, it is very important to make sure that you have a completed profile. And the main reason is because if people go, or if people see a tweet of yours, or if they visit your profile page and they see that your profile is incomplete, they are not going to be too inclined to follow you. All right, so to accumulate followers, one of the best and easiest things you can do is to fill out a complete profile. Okay, so how do you do that? What you do is you're going to click on your name over here on the left-hand side. Okay, and remember, this is my full name, David Haddam, and my Twitter username or handle is dhaddam. Okay, so I'm going to click on my full name. This is going to bring me to my my profile page. Okay, and on this page here, we can see in the right-hand side an Edit Profile button. So if you click on that Edit Profile button, you'll now see what you can change within your profile. You have a couple of things. Number one, you have this header photo. My header photo happens to be a painting by Jean-Michel Basquiat, one of my favorite painters. So I put that there. Then I have my regular photo in the left-hand side, and either of those I can change simply by clicking on the icon, and I can upload a new photo. Okay. Then I have my real name right here, which of course I can make changes to if I want. Okay. Then in the box below, my Twitter username, which is highlighted now where you see United Nations English Teacher. This is my brief profile description, and you have 140 characters to describe yourself. One thing that I think was important for me to put in my account, and I kind of picked this up from when I started following other UN accounts, is that to put this views are my own right down here at the end on the bottom. And this is going to ensure that anything that I say is not part of the organization. It's not a belief of the organization. It is my own opinion. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go willy-nilly and just express whatever I want on Twitter, because as we've learned and as you continue to hear, you have to have a filter. You know, you have to use common sense about what you're going to put. And I'll say what everybody else says, you know, don't say anything on Twitter that you wouldn't feel comfortable saying in front of your boss, your mother, or something like that, okay? So you can put views are my own. I also see other people have put retweets are not endorsements. So this is another way of saying that kind of same thing, where if I retweet something, that doesn't mean that I am endorsing this as well, okay? So I think that's an important thing to put, particularly as international civil servants. You want to have that in your profile, but you also want to put a brief description, and mine just includes my interests, particularly here on Twitter. You have the ability to add a location where you're at. I think that can be useful to some people if they're doing searches for tweets that are coming out of particular locations. Then that will be able to link your tweet to a location through a search. That's one way to have that. Other people, wary of security and privacy, choose not to put that on. That's okay. I mean, that's your prerogative to do so. Me, I'll just give you a little background on me. I'm weary, I'm cautious, but I'm not so cautious that I won't put something out there, for example, my location, and then, you know, think about it and maybe change it later. Okay, so that's just how I take to it. And then you have the ability to put a web page underneath, whatever kind of web page it is. Mine, because now I'm starting to use Twitter a little bit more for professional purposes here at the UN as I'm teaching the social media class, etc. I've put a link to my LinkedIn profile. So I'm kind of transitioning my Twitter page a little bit more to include more professional aspects rather than just use it for personal purposes. Okay? And then you could change your theme color. And if I change the theme colors, what will be displayed in the background underneath the header photo, you have different colors that you can put in. You have the option to even put in, I'm not sure which color code that is, but there is an option to do that. And that is not as important as the other aspects, but I think the main aspects are a photo and that complete profile description filled out. Okay, those are priorities, those two. If afterwards you want to add the header, add a web page, etc., you can do so, but those two are the most important. Okay. So once you would change what you need to change, you hit Save Changes, and it would appear, and then your profile has been saved. We can see that on the top. And then we have completed our profile. Now, I'm just now going to check real quick in the Q&A. Nothing about profiles. I see a question here from Photomathon. I'd like to know what are the most effective use for the favorite feature. Let me just state that we will be giving some best practices in here for every point that I present. I have a little tip for, but we will have a whole seminar, a whole webinar devoted just to Twitter best practices, where we will go over in detail, you know, what's the best way to favorite, best way to write tweet, etc. Okay, this is focusing mainly on the functions of Twitter. Okay, so we're now going to go over to step number 3. Okay, and step number 3 focuses on privacy and security, a big topic right now in all of social media. So in order to access your settings for privacy and security, you're going to click on your photo icon here at the top right page, and you'll see displayed underneath Profile and Settings. You can click on that. Near the bottom, you see Settings. You want to click on Settings, and this will bring you to all of the settings that you have available for you on Twitter. Of these settings here, we're going to focus on the security and privacy one. Okay, so I'm going to open that up for you right now. Well, let me, you know what, just before that, let me just show you. Here you have your basic account settings, what you're looking at, and that is the first tab here. And here is where you can change your username. Okay, so you can actually change, once you make a Twitter username, which is distinct from your real name, you can actually change that later on. Okay, so maybe one tip I can give you is if you're feeling a little bit cautious about signing up for an account with your real name, create one, make a fake Twitter handle, put a fake name. You can always change it later on once you feel comfortable with it. If you've made some tweets that you don't want people to see, that you made before you actually felt comfortable using the tool, you can always delete those tweets, okay? So that's what I like about Twitter and why I'm open to using it in some ways where I'm not exercising so much caution, okay? And I think another valuable function here, just one more, is the Twitter archive. You can actually request an archive of all your tweets that you've ever made, which might be valuable to you for analytical purposes, perhaps. Okay, moving along to security and privacy, okay? Under security, part here is about login verification, okay? So what this means is every time that you sign into Twitter, do you want to verify that you have signed in? For example, if I sign into Twitter, I can have them send a message to my phone, right, that is letting me know that somebody has logged into Twitter. Okay, this is to ensure that in case somebody has taken your information, your password, your username, and they sign on without your knowing, you will get a message, hey, somebody has signed on to Twitter. You'll realize that it's not me, and you will know that your account has been hacked. So if you're worried about somebody hacking your account, you might want to put on send login verification request to my phone, and that way you know. But the negative of that is that every time you log into Twitter, you will get a message on your phone. So we're going to see a lot of this kind of dichotomy between here. This is good for security, but it's a negative maybe for some other aspect, okay? Password reset. Okay, if you want to reset your password, do you want Twitter to require some personal information from you in order to reset the password, such as your phone number or email? In this case, if somebody does hack your account and they try to change the password, if they don't have your phone number or email, they will not be able to change the password. Okay, so you might want to click on that as well. Again, this is all your preferences. You know, it depends on how private you want to be. Okay. There's another aspect here for a login with a code, okay? This is kind of new. I haven't seen this one before, but it's pretty self-explanatory that when you log into Twitter, it will ask you for a code, which would be sent to your email or phone, another way to ensure another layer of privacy, and then you will use that code that is sent to you in order to log in, right? So Twitter I feel it's pretty good with security. They do give you a lot of different options for protecting your account in ways that you feel safe. But again, it's your option, your prerogative to do so. Privacy is distinct from security. Privacy refers to information about your account or about you that will be made available to other people on Twitter or third-party applications, advertisers, etc., something like that, okay? Photo tagging. If a photo tag means that if somebody uploads a picture of you to Twitter and they put your name on the picture, that means that they have tagged it, and then that could be available for all of your followers to see. So do you want somebody to be able to put a photo on you on Twitter before you authorize it, before you see it? A lot of times that you've heard on Facebook where people have had pictures of themselves tagged at bars doing raucous things, and then they've gotten fired, actually. You know, so if you want to make sure that nobody's posting a picture of you, you might want to select that, okay? Okay, tweet privacy. This is one of the big ones, right? If you are cautious or wary about joining Twitter and you don't want people, well, I don't want to write a tweet and then people see what I write and I don't feel confident about it. Well, what you can do is protect your tweets. And what this means is that if anybody wants to follow you in order to receive your tweets, you are going to authorize their ability to do that. You are going to give them permission to see your tweets. So that means nobody can see your tweets without your permission. Right? So, again, if you're a new user, you might want to do that. The negative of that is people tend to not follow you if they see that your tweets are protected. So I think it depends on your purpose. If you're in the business of accumulating followers, don't put it on. If you're in the business of, I'm just getting onto Twitter, I just want to explore a little bit, don't want anybody really see what I'm doing, then I would suggest selecting the tweet privacy. Okay? For the location to your tweets, this could happen from your GPS location in your phone or from your home computers. Do you want Twitter to put your exact location where the tweet was made? So if I'm on 42nd Street and I make a tweet from 42nd Street and my GPS is transmitting that to Twitter, do I want Twitter to actually show that to my followers? Again, it depends on your purpose for that tweet or your purpose for your account. It also has to deal with searches. If people want to search again for tweets in particular places, then that tweet would appear. For my particular purposes, I don't really see the benefit of that, although I do have it on. Again, I do have it on, but I don't see the benefit of it. I haven't seen anybody give me a tweet or make a response to me because of that. So, discoverability. Okay, this means, and this is another one that I think is related to protect my tweets for beginner users, right? When you make an account on Twitter, maybe you don't want anybody to know that you have a Twitter account, right? Because you're just exploring. So the main way that people find you on Twitter is that when they sign up or if they're looking for people to follow, they can give Twitter access to their email contact list, right? So if you're in this person's email contact list and they're searching for Twitter users on Gmail, for example, your name would appear there and it will say that this person signed up for an account on Twitter using this email. Excuse us 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. So again, I'll just repeat that. If you let others find you by email address, that means that you are allowing Twitter to let a new user or an established user know that you are on Twitter through the email that you use to sign up for Twitter, okay? So I think because I'm trying to accumulate followers, I leave that on. I want people to know that I'm on Twitter. I want people to be able to find me on Twitter, and that way I leave it on. If I didn't want that, then I would take it off. Again, it could be your purpose or, you know, just an evolution of yourself as a Twitter user might influence how you leave that on or off. Okay. Personalization and promoted content. Personalization. Tailor Twitter based on my recent website visits, right? So I'm not sure if you're aware, but say if you're logged into Twitter, then you go onto Google and you start searching around while you're logged into Twitter. Those cookies will be backtracked into Twitter. Twitter will know which websites you have visited. And in that case, they could promote content to you based on which websites you visited. So a simple example is this. I'm logged into Twitter. I go on to Macy's. I start looking for something to buy on Macy's. Then I go back onto Twitter and I see an ad from Macy's on Twitter directed at me. Right? So it's kind of tracking those cookies. And another thing, too, is just from your searches that you do on Twitter or from people that you have followed on Twitter, Twitter will use that information then to suggest content to you as well. Okay? So these are two things that you want to be aware of. I want to give you a tip here, particularly if you use Google Chrome and you don't want to be web tracked, right? What you can do is you can go into your options over here in the right top of the browser, click on Settings, okay? Go down into Settings, go into Show Advanced Settings, and under Privacy, the last box here, you see Send a Do Not Retract Request with your browsing traffic. If I click that on, that means that they're not going to be able to track where I go online, even if I'm in the Twitter application. Okay, so that's a way to kind of avoid that, another layer of privacy and security, should you want that, okay? So I actually have recently put that on. I'm a little weary of being tracked online. Just don't want, social media and advertisers to know where I'm going. That's just my opinion about it, okay? So you might want to, that's the tip for this part here, is to send the do not track request with your browsing traffic. Okay? I'm now going to go back to the Twitter page. Okay. And then a new feature, and this just came out, I think, within the last 3 months, and I think it's a pretty cool feature, is that you can now send direct messages to anybody on Twitter, and a direct message is a private message that you can send to another user that nobody else can see except that user. Now, before, it used to be that you can only exchange direct messages if there was a reciprocation of following. Right? So if I'm following you, you're following me, we can send direct messages to each other. Now they've changed it where you can allow anybody, even if there's no reciprocity in following, to send you a direct message. I like that because maybe I want to talk to somebody on Twitter, but I want other people to see it. So, or vice versa. I want to be able to be contacted about something, not have anybody see it, even if this person is not following me. So I have turned that on, receive direct messages from anyone. So you can try to send somebody a direct message if you're not following them. If they have this turned on, you will be able to. If they don't, you won't be able to. Okay? And again, that is a new feature. So we now come to the end of part 3. Select your privacy and security settings. I can see us already going maybe 10 to 15 minutes over. Just because there's a lot to get through, so I just want to state that right now, okay? I see I have a notification. I'll show you how to do that later, but thank you and I'm just going to retweet this here. Okay. Do a little live tweeting. One of the benefits of Twitter is that you can do live tweeting and use it as a back channel, as a way to ask questions during live webinars, such as we're doing here. So if you do want to ask a question on Twitter, feel free to do that as well. Okay, so we're now going to go to part 4, and this is where we actually are going to look at writing a tweet, okay? And to write a tweet, you're going to go to your home page. So I just clicked on this home part here in the upper left, and I think I can probably put some, can I get some annotations in here? No, let me just get that down. Yeah. Over here is the home page, okay? Okay. So here is the Twitter box, and you can see it has the question, what's happening? That was the original question that Twitter posed to users when they first made the application. And so people used to write about what they were actually doing in the moment, right? So right now I'm giving a webinar, so, stuff of this nature. That quickly evolved and changed, and as we know now, Twitter is used for many other reasons. But that's why that question is there, what's happening. It doesn't mean that you have to write what you're doing in the actual moment. Although I will do that now as I demonstrate a tweet. Okay? So I'm going to write a tweet now. Notice that you have 140 characters to write a tweet. I've just put in 2 characters, so it's now down to 138. You can see it. Sorry about that. I'm just going to do a kind of gibberish here just so you can see that count goes down. And once it reaches 0, you can see it highlights whatever content is over the limit. And it won't let me tweet. I can't hit the tweet button while I'm over the limit, okay? And I know that Jody had mentioned one thing about when you make your username. You know, you want to make that a short username because we have limited space in which to reply back to you. So if your username is 40 characters, and I only have, 100 characters to respond to you. So I think that's a good tip to keep your username short and professional so that people can reply to you with a limited space, okay? So when I write a tweet, I can I just write it right in the box, so I'm just going to say, and I just give you a tip here. You do want to comb your tweets and edit them for any kind of grammatical or mechanical mistakes, spelling, stuff like that, right? You don't want to have a tweet that has inaccuracies in it if you can. One thing I will tell you is about hashtags, right? I think hashtags now, everybody's talking about hashtags. A hashtag is a way to aggregate topics on Twitter, right? So we have all these billions of messages that are sent out every day. How can we search those messages by topic? And that is what the hashtag is for, and that was created by Twitter users. They originated that. It wasn't there when Twitter actually began. So a hashtag is the pound symbol followed by a topic, okay? And for this one here, I'm just going to put UN Twitter, just UN Twitter, okay? And I think a couple of things about hashtags. Number one, you don't want to kill it with hashtags. You want to limit hashtags. People think, oh, Twitter hashtags. Okay, so in my tweet, I'm going to put 30 hashtags. Not a good practice at all, right? And that hashtags are interesting because, say, on Instagram, if you're using Instagram, you want to load your posts with hashtags. The more, the better. On Twitter, you want to limit them, right? So the way you use hashtags depends on which application you're using, right? So you want to limit the actual hashtags when you're writing to 1 or 2 at the most, okay? You can also add a photo to a tweet, okay? So you see the photo button right there. So it's as simple as, I don't know what just happened there. There we go, add a photo. I'm just going to do a screenshot right here. Let me go back to my, I'll show you how to delete a tweet, so I don't care if it's this messy photo because I'm going to delete this tweet right away, okay? So I'm just doing a little snip so I can have a picture to show you. Oh, no, okay, that's okay. Yeah, the desktop. Yeah. I think I'm going to, let me do that right now. Okay. I just have to get this picture down. Okay. What I just did is I used the SnipSnap application from the Windows Start button to take a picture of the screen. Now I'm going to add the photo. I'm going to search for that photo I just made. Here it is. I put it there, and now you can see it's there, and it will appear in the tweet when I do it, okay? If I want to add the location, right, I don't know what, there we go. I have to come here and put it. I can switch it to Manhattan, New York. So I have my photo. I can add more if I want. If I want to say who's in this photo, that is that photo tagging that I had mentioned in the privacy. So if you don't want me to put your name here so other people can see that, then I wouldn't be able to put your name if you have selected that in your privacy, okay? So I'm not going to tag anybody in this one here. And now I'm ready to it. You see I have 16 spaces left. I might go and put another hashtag if I want. I'm not going to do that now for demonstration purposes. And I tweet. And once I hit the tweet button, this is now going to appear right here. You can see it front and center on my home page. It will also appear in my profile page. So your home, let me just step back 1 second. Your home page will show you a running stream of all of the people that you are following. So all these tweets that you see here are from people that I am following, okay? So this is where all those main tweets come through. This is the first stop in Twitter, your homepage, right? With a stream of tweets in reverse chronological order. Now you just saw, because I tweeted mine, you see it here on the homepage. I can also access my own tweets just by going to my profile page. So on my profile page, you see this here. These are all of my own tweets or tweets that I have retweeted or favorited, okay? So that is what your profile page will show. Your tweets, your interactions with various tweets, whereas the home page will show tweets of yourself and anybody else you're following, okay? So I now, as I'm following many people, my tweet has already gone down to the bottom over here, okay? So you can see here, I just wanted to point out that the photo is displayed within the tweet itself, okay? I can view the photo by clicking on this here, and it'll open it up a little bit and give more information. Just some very basic analytical information. How many retweets this has and how many favorites this has. I will ask if you cannot retweet this because I'm going to delete it anyway because the picture is just nonsense. And so that's the basic of writing a tweet, right? You have 140 characters. You're going to limit the hashtags. You want to add photos as much as possible because photos promote engagement. We live in a visual culture right now, particularly the youth culture is extremely visual, and they are one of the dominant communities here on Twitter. And so visuals promote engagement, no matter what platform you're on. So you want to try as much as possible to put a photo. I'm going to delete this tweet right here. You can have options for your tweet by looking here on the bottom next to the timestamp, all the way in the right-hand corner, the alliteration. If I click on that here, you can see right at the bottom, delete a tweet. Again, I'll show you that. It's right here on the tweet, the 3 periods. You click on that, it'll open up some various options. I can share this tweet in a direct message. I could copy a link to the tweet and share the link. I can embed the tweet in a blog that I might have or a web page. I can pin this tweet to my profile page, which will give it more prominence if I feel that this is a very effective tweet, or I can delete it, which I'm going to do right now by clicking on delete and then doing it, okay? Now when I go to my profile page where all my tweets are, you see that that now is gone. Okay, so you can make a tweet and delete it. Now, let me just tell you about it. Should you, and I hope this doesn't happen to you, but should you make a faux pas on Twitter? Could be a small one, could be a big one. But if you do, you can delete that tweet. However, somebody might have already retweeted it or favored it or took a picture of it, and then it doesn't matter if you deleted it. There are a lot of times when people have made a faux pas within 5 seconds, they have deleted the tweet, and it has already gone viral. The case of Anthony Weiner, the politician in New York, who had a big sex scandal from a tweet that he had made, and ended up he was going to be a mayoral candidate here in New York, and now because of Twitter, he's not going to be. And he had deleted one particular tweet, I think, within 5 seconds of putting it up, and it completely ruined his candidacy. So you have to be careful, even though that delete function is there, okay? One other thing about tweets, I'm going to go back to the home page so I can access the tweet box, is about links, right? You want to try to include links, again, when possible in your tweets. And if you're using it to run campaigns and things of this nature, putting in images, putting in links, putting in locations, you can then analyze the data to see, well, my tweets with pictures do way better than my tweets just with links. And that can tell you what you can focus on, right? Oh, well, I should add more pictures or vice versa. So that's why that information is valuable and why you want to add it. So if I want to add a link in here, just say if I go up to, I'm just going to go to any web page here. You're not seeing this right now, I don't think, but that's okay. Just going to share this random Twitter best practices article. I haven't checked this out. I'm just demonstrating how to add a link, right? So if I put in here to say something, check out this article, and then I'm going to put in the link, right? Now the link, important thing about the link, all links will register as 23 characters. Doesn't matter how small or how big. It will always take up 23 characters, and I just want to test that just to make sure. So here I have 116, and I'm going to do a 116 minus 23. I'm not good at math. I have to use a calculator for this one. 93 is what it should be. So when I put in this link, which is obviously more than 23 characters, you can see about 94. So I think I was one off. So about 23 to 24 characters, no matter the size of the link, even if it's only 2 spaces long. Okay? So once that link is in there, you can then tweet it, and now I can see that the link is available for somebody to click on, and it would bring them to the page. Okay? I'm going again to delete this tweet because I haven't looked at the information from Adweek, so I don't want to promote that yet. And there it is. So to me, that's the basics. Again, just basics, not best practices per se, but the basics of writing a tweet. 140 characters or less. Include images as much as possible. Limit the hashtags to 1 or 2. And also include links when possible, remembering that no matter the link size, you will have 23, it will eat up 23 characters. Okay? Let's look now at we're going to move on to number 5, interacting with tweets. How can we interact with tweets? Okay? So I just see here from Photomathon, who is participating in this webinar here at NYHQ. I like that he is calling me up here. He's mentioning my name, right? And a mention is when you put the @ and the username of the Twitter handle. Okay? And I'm going to say more about that. But this is mentioning me, trying to call my attention to this particular tweet. It's not replying to a tweet that I had made. It's just mentioning me in a separate tweet. Okay? So now let me see if I want to reply to this tweet here. You'll notice that the username comes at the beginning. Okay? That's what distinguishes a reply from a mention, because it looks the same. It looks exactly the same, right? So what distinguishes it is the position it appears in the tweet and then who can see it. So when I reply to someone and the name is here at the beginning, only the people who are following both myself and Photomathon would be able to see this tweet. So if you're not following the both of us, this tweet will not appear on your homepage. And that's because Twitter doesn't want people's feeds to be crowded with all of these reply conversations, right? So when I put this here, again, only the people who follow both me and Photomathon would be able to see this tweet, right? So I'm just going to put thanks because he said rocking about Twitter. I like that. Thanks. And then I am responding. I'm replying to Photomathon. I hit this here, and then there you can see that. Yeah. I'm just using his real name is Manuel. Okay, just to let you know, it's not Photomathon. But I like your username, by the way. So now you can see the kind of aggregate of the conversation here, right? You have the original response, you have the reply to it, and as you go through it, it would continue to build. I don't know how, to tell you the truth, because it changes so much, I don't know how much, if we kept this thread going, how much other people would be able to see of the conversation. It used to be where you could see all of the turns in the conversation, and you can get other third-party applications. One of the ones I used was, what was that one that I was using? I'll try to remember, but I was using one where it really threaded the conversation in a great way so you can see all the terms, okay? So I just demonstrated to you how to do a reply, right? Let me demonstrate to you. That's one way to interact with a tweet, right? You can reply to what somebody has said. Another very simple way to interact with somebody's tweet is to retweet it. When you retweet it, this is akin to forwarding an email, right? So even when I retweet this tweet right here, all of the people who are following me will be able to will be able to see it. Okay, so if you're following me, I retweet this, you will be able to see it even though you're not following Photomathon, which would be the only other way you can see it, right? So a retweet is kind of like forwarding an email. So I'm just going to retweet this here. You can add a comment with it. It's probably better to do that. You don't want to just always be a retweeter who retweets things, don't put any comment in it, and your feed is just retweets, right? Probably not a good practice. So once I retweet this here, I go back up to the top. It should be either here on my home page. I'm going to go to my home page. I'm sorry, my profile page, I meant to say. And here you can see it on the profile page, and how you can distinguish that this is a tweet that was retweeted and not tweeted by me is by looking in the top of the tweet. We have the retweet icon, which are two arrows going in a circular motion, and then it actually says David Haddam retweeted Photomathon's tweet, and it reads like this here. Okay? So you can have a reply, which is a more higher form of interactive engagement. You can have a retweet, again engagement, but it's a little bit of a lower form. And then you can have a favorite. And a favorite is kind of like an endorsement. When you favorite something, nobody else is going to see this. When you favorite something, the only thing that you will be able to, the people whose tweet you favorite, they will know that it was favorited. And the only way another person can know that you favorited this tweet is if they visited your profile. So let's say for Photomathon, I want to see what tweets has he favorited. I can click on Photomathon, I can go to his profile page, and I see favorites. I click on favorites, and here are all the tweets that he has favored. Those don't go out in the homepage for everybody to see when he does that. This is the only way to access this. So a favorite, if we're going to put a level on higher forms of engagement, the highest to me is the reply. The retweet is below that because more people can see it, and then the favorite is even below that because it's going from more people to less people who can see the tweet, right? So if you just want to kind of give an endorsement to somebody, like if they made a post that you like, something like that, a real quick way to give an endorsement, give them feedback, is just to favorite it. And then I can always unfavorite it if I decide later I didn't like it. And if I retweet something, I can always go back to that tweet, and I'm pretty sure that I can unretweet it. Let me go back to the page over here. Here's the one that I retweeted. If I go down here, sorry about that. I just blew it up. One second, please. I'll have to go back and check because I did read that you can unretweet. I can always delete that. Maybe that's what they mean, okay? Okay, so we have looked at replying to a tweet. We've looked at mentioning somebody in a tweet. We looked at retweeting, and we looked at favorite. Those are four of the main ways to interact and engage with another person's tweet. Now, I want to point out a little tip here, okay? And the tip revolves, and this is going to be a little bit confusing, but I hope I do my best to explain this to you, okay? I had mentioned to you before that when you put for example, if I want to reply to this tweet here, right? The thing about a reply is that the person who wrote the tweet will come up. One second, please. Okay. We apologize for those interruptions. So when I make a reply, how you know it's a reply is that this person's name here is at the beginning of the tweet. Now remember that only the people who are following both of us, Carol MT and D Haddam, can see this reply. If I want to reply to it, but I want everybody to be able to see it, not just the people who are following us, then you have a little thing that you can do, which is just to put a period before the @ symbol, okay? And this will make it so that anybody can see this reply, okay? So you have three things that you can do with the username. You can reply to somebody by just hitting the reply button and having their username in the beginning of the tweet. You can reply/mention somebody by putting it at the beginning of a tweet, but putting a period so you don't limit who can see the tweet. Or you can just mention them, and that would mean that I'm going to put their name at somewhere besides the beginning of the tweet, right? So I like this article at Carol MT. That is just a mention, okay? So that's what you want to distinguish between an @reply, a .@reply or mention, and an @mention. Okay, and these, I know I just said that kind of quickly. We went through that. Again, I would refer you to the Twitter user page where they have it written out very clearly, simply, plain English, you know, the differences between reply, retweet, @mention, and where those tweets appear. Okay. I'm just going to take a second here to go look in the Q&A. Unfortunately, Huda, we don't have any time to discuss Twitter Teams right now. I think that's a little bit more of an advanced feature that's beyond the scope of this webinar, but perhaps it might be able to be in the best practices one. Okay. Okay, we're now going to be on step number 6 of 10. And this is now where we look into, all right, we looked at how do we write a tweet. We looked at how to interact with tweets. Now we're going to look at how to check how people are interacting with your tweets, all right? And this is very important because if people are interacting with your tweets, you want to be adamant about responding, replying, and engaging with them to increase your following, promoting your brand, etc. Okay? So next to the home page, you have the notifications page. And you can see now it's telling me that I have 9 notifications. You can have notifications sent to your telephone. There is a Twitter application for your phone which you can download, and you can have the notifications sent there. You can have them sent to your email, or you can just have them display here. And you can adjust those the way that you receive the notifications alert in your settings, okay? If I have time, I'll go back and show you. But now I'm just going to click on the notifications, and this is pretty simple, right? You have notifications. You can have it between all or just the people that you are following, okay? So in the notifications, I'm finding how people are interacting with my tweets. I can see here that this Vanessa Hidalgo has retweeted a tweet that I was mentioning. Okay, that's good. I might then maybe want to reach out to Vanessa and make a tweet to her. This is a way that I can establish a connection with another person, even if I'm not following them, and maybe I can get a follow from them to better promote my brand. I can see here that I've been followed. You want to look at the icons, right? This is what's going to tell you what that engagement was. This was a retweet. This was a follow. These people here have followed me, okay? This is a retweet that I have done. This here is a favorite. This is letting me know that this tweet here was favorited by these people. And these are very basic analytics, very, very basic, that show how people are engaging your tweet, okay? By either following you, by retweeting you, by favoriting you, or by mentioning you. If you want to just see the mentions, which is important, hey, who's asking me questions, right? Who's giving me responses to my questions? You click on the mentions tab, and again, this will list just when your name was mentioned in a tweet. And most likely you'll notice that it wouldn't be at the beginning, although there are a few there. Okay? Again, do I want to see anybody who's mentioned my name? Or do I want to just see from the people I follow, only my followers who's mentioning me? And I can click on that, and then that will change the list slightly, because there are some people who are mentioning me who are not following me. So you have both of those options available in both the notifications and the mentions. And I think your first stop, I know I had said before, homepage is kind of first stop, but if you're in the business of advertising, of promoting, running campaigns, your first stop is probably going to be the notifications, because you want to see how people are interacting and engaging with your content. Okay? And my tip for the notifications is to interact as much as possible with people who are engaging with your tweet. Don't get a reply. Don't have somebody reply to your tweet and you don't go back to them in a timely fashion. Right? Don't have somebody retweet your tweet who's not following you, and you don't try to engage them and get them to follow you. That's a kind of sign. Hey, you like my content. Why don't you follow me? You know, just ask. I think a good tip too is just ask for a follow. If you ask for a follow or do like a follow for follow, I'll follow you if you follow me, you'll get a lot of people to follow you like that. And that's what your aim here on Twitter is, to build your following. It's one of the key metrics for seeing how you're doing, how many followers you have. It's not the only one or even the best one, but it is a key one, okay? So the tip is stay up on your notifications and engage those people who are engaging with you. Don't lose an opportunity. All right, we're now going to go on to analytics, and I have to admit this is my weak point on Twitter, as this is more for advertising and for running campaigns, and that's not particularly how I use Twitter. And also the terminology is a little bit dense as well. So I'll do my best here in this part. You have two ways to explore deeper analytics with your Twitter, with your tweets. One way is by, if I go to my profile page and look at my tweets, okay, here are my tweets. You can see on some tweets, you have this bar, right, this little bar graph, view tweet activity. This is going to give you at least how many impressions your tweet has made, okay? And I'll talk to you about reach, impressions, and engagement in a second. Okay. So basically, the impressions is how many times a tweet has appeared on somebody's homepage, right? So this has passed through somebody's feed, and they have seen this tweet 47 times, okay? That's what impression means, that it appeared on somebody's homepage, and they saw it in their feed. Let's distinguish impression from reach. Reach is if I make a tweet, right, and say the person how many followers do I have? Let's say I have 10 followers. I make a tweet, I have 10 followers. That means that 10 people have the potential to see this tweet in their homepage. Now let's imagine a person who is following me has 5 followers, and they retweet this. So that expands my reach from 10 people to the additional 5 that this person that is following this person. So that means now that 15 people have the opportunity to see my tweet. It doesn't mean that they have seen it, which is the impression, how many times it's appeared in their feed. It just means the possibility, right? So the reach is the possibility of this X number of followers to see this tweet. The impression is the amount of people who have actually seen the tweet. And engagement, it means that somebody is interacting with your tweet by either a favorite, a reply, a mention, or a retweet. Okay? And again, those terms are laid out clearly. I will refer you to we'll also have Beatrice in here from UN Women next week to discuss in further detail metrics, and I'm sure she'll have better information than I do, but this is a good little introduction to it. Okay? The other way, the deeper way, is to go to your settings. Go to your username icon, and then you see analytics here. This is a new feature which was just introduced into Twitter not too long ago. Analytics are big. That's how Twitter attracts users, and it's how they attract revenue. It's how all social media attract revenue, by giving analytic data to the people who are using it so that they can better find out how to promote their brand. So on here is, again, because it's new, I'm not really too expert in this here, but I'll try to go through it. You see that you have a summary of a month period, how many tweets I've made in the month, how much percentage that is up from the previous month, how many tweet impressions, and again, the impressions are how many times my tweets have appeared and been seen in somebody's homepage, how many times my profile has been visited by another person, how many times I've been mentioned, and how many followers I've accumulated. And this is all in a 28-day period. So this is valuable information. If you're starting a campaign, you're running a campaign, you do it over a month-long time, okay, do you see arrows going up? I hope you would, because that would mean that your campaign is doing pretty well, okay? It also gives some information here. What is my top tweet? What is my top mention? It earned 5 engagements. The reason it's my top tweet is it earned 380 impressions. It was seen in at least 380 news feeds, okay? It shows my top follower. And what that is this is also valuable because this person is an influencer. They have 250,000 people who are following them. So if they retweet one of my tweets, that exponentially increases the reach, the potential of my tweet to reach, at least just from him, 250,000 people. Okay? So if he's not following me, he is. But there are other ways I can engage him to try to get him to promote my content more. Maybe you can ask just for a retweet. Hey, can you retweet this here? That can promote your engagement. Okay? And then you have a summary of the last month over here. So those are just basic analytical data that is given to you for free without the need of a third-party application. And I think that's valuable. Okay, and again, we're going to have Beatrice in here next week to talk about it. We're just about done. I understand we're running close to the time here. We are 5 minutes over. I would like to show the Twitter list as the last part here. Okay. And we did have a question about that. So, Twitter list. This is a way, like right now I have 370 people that I'm following, right? So on my home page, which I'm on right now, that means, 370 people's tweets, whoever they're retweeting, all that stuff can appear on my feed. And that gets confusing. It gets kind of unmanageable. Well, I like to follow, some things I like to follow are just people at United Nations. I like to follow sports. So what about if I just want to see tweets from sports? What about if I just want to see the tweets from the people I'm following at the United Nations? That's what lists are for, to put your followers into categories so that you can easily access those tweets, okay? So what you do to create a list is that you would go here to your profile page and you see list right underneath there. You can click on list, okay? Here are the lists that I have created. I have created 14 lists, and I have, these are the 14 lists which I have created, okay? I'll show you the United Nations one. One is United Nations. This is for anybody I'm following who works here at the United Nations. I click on that. It shows me in this feed just tweets from these people who work at the United Nations. Perfect, right? Because I don't want to have to comb through 1,000 tweets to find these types of tweets, okay? I'm going to go back to my list here. Notice that once you click on a list in the left-hand corner, you can edit the list, okay? When you edit the list or create a list, you can give it a name, a description, and then you can make it public or private. So if you want, you can come onto my homepage, click on my list, and if you like my list, you can follow that list. And that's what I have done with this list here. If I go back to my list, you'll see that I'm following this list here, UN Tweeters. And this guy had already done what I was doing. He has 1,016 members of this list. So these are 1,016 members, all who have either worked for or are tweeting about the United Nations. And I subscribe to this list here. So there are 124 people who are kind of following or subscribing to this list here. It's a great list you can find through my list, and then you can subscribe to it, okay? If I wanted to create a list, I would go to lists, okay? I would create a new list. Let's call this one Sports 2, just for these purposes here. I would give it a description, make it public or private, and I would save the list, okay? We should now see that list in my feed. It's now given the opportunity to just go find people that might be into sports. So I know, just say, for example, ESPN, right? I'm not following this one here, but I do listen to this, so I can follow it. And then here's the trick, right? Once you follow them, you can then click on this cogwheel icon, and then it says add or remove from list. I click on add to list, I put this in Sports 2, hit the button, and then exit out, and now that person or that account is in that list. And I'll demonstrate that to you by just going to it. Sports 2, one member, click on it, and it's ESPN. Okay? And that's how you create and make a list. The key and the tip is to do it as soon as you follow somebody. Don't get 1,000 followers and then say, okay, let me go back and put them in lists. You know how long you'll be there for? Hours. I spent hours just putting 300 people into a list. So now I found the best practice, as soon as you follow somebody, put them in a list. If you don't have a list for that person, create a list. Because if you'll see, again, I'm not a power user. There are people following 8,000 people, 10,000 people. So if you haven't put those in lists, forget it. Unmanageable. Okay, so I just walked you through how to click on somebody's username and add them to a list, how to create a list, how to describe a list, how to add or remove somebody from a list, and I gave you a tip for using the list by adding a person to the list as soon as it's created. Okay? So I think we've come to the end, as we're already a bit over time, 10 minutes. I would like to give the opportunity for questions if they have it. I know this was a very quick demonstration. We didn't have a lot of time, but I hope that was useful for you. Both pages are available to you, as well as the Twitter help page, which I strongly and highly recommend that you use because it is very easy to use and can help you to learn more about the functions of Twitter. So thank you all very much, and I'm now going to open it up for questions. You can either raise your hand to ask a question, type it in the chat box, or you can put it in the Q&A anyway. If you want, we can give you the microphone, and you can ask the question through the microphone, okay? So managing two simultaneous accounts, you'd have to do that. You can manage it just through the one application, just through Twitter. I have various accounts. Sometimes I'll just log in and log out of Twitter. That's not the most efficient way. The most efficient way to manage accounts is through a third-party application, the most well-known of which is Hootsuite, or TweetDeck as well. TweetDeck and Hootsuite are two third-party applications that help you manage not only multiple Twitter accounts, but multiple social media accounts. So I can have 5 different streams, and one stream would show my Facebook account, one stream would show my Twitter account, one stream would show my Instagram account, etc. So these third-party aggregators or applications help you bring all your social media or various social media accounts within one platform to one place so you don't have to keep going to those pages. Hootsuite used to be completely free. Now it's free with limited functionality, and you have to sign up and pay for the full functionality of it. I think if you are using it for advertising, brand promotion, things of these nature, it benefits you to have that. If you're just using it for personal purposes, probably not worth it, not needed. Okay. Sure, we have a question here at NYHQ. Sure. Sure. Yeah. So we have a participant here who said, I've been following you and OCHA. I'm displaying their account now on screen. And she says that she's noticed a lot of infographics being displayed in their tweets as images. And what is the origin of the infographics? That's a little bit of a different topic, but we do have a topic about visuals that we, depending on if there's a need for it or if people want to see it, we can give demonstration on that. I believe also that there was a webinar just on infographics that was given as part. Jody might be able to help me here. What's the webinar on infographics that was given, I believe, by UFODA? Where would that be able to be found? Yeah, we'll let you out because there should be a webinar already about that. But just to let you know, the origin of the infographic could be from a third-party application. One that I use right now to create infographics is, I'll notice by the name, Piktochart. Okay? Piktochart is free, again with limited capabilities. You can go on here, make an infographic, save it as a JPEG, and then share as the JPEG onto Twitter. Or some of these applications have a direct share feature to social networks. Okay? So that's where you make it. That's for the less technically inclined or people who don't have experience in making infographics, but you could use Adobe Illustrator to make your own infographics, save, and then share on Twitter. Okay. Okay, any other questions? I'm looking through the Q&A right now just to see if there's any other ones. How many images can we add? Excuse me, is a question from Rafat. And I don't know exactly how many. That's a good question. It used to be just one. I just noticed, as a matter of fact, now, when I went to make a tweet, that it does give you the opportunity to give multiple images. So I don't know the exact number, but yeah, so I'm sorry I can't answer that specific question. I'm sure that could easily be found through Google search. And again, the reason why I might not, know something is, again, Twitter is very amorphous. It changes very often, and if you're not looking at it almost every day or following the media about it, you could get lost in what changes have been made. So we have another question: why limit the hashtag? The other question is, why limit the hashtags for Twitter? Well, they found that tweets that contain a lot of hashtags don't promote the same kind kind of engagement as tweets that limit the hashtags, okay? For whatever reason that may be, I don't know why, but putting many hashtags in your tweets will limit the engagement. And I think that's one of the purposes of tweeting, particularly from an organizational standpoint, is to promote engagement. So you don't want to engage in any practices where it's not going to help you interact with people on Twitter, okay? And I think also it's just from the space purposes. So I would say, too, if you have a short tweet, right, if you have maybe just 30 characters in the tweet and you have some really good hashtags, then I say, okay, you have some space, you have some well-followed hashtags, you know, then maybe you could put a couple of more. But it's not a standard practice. It's not something you want to make quotidian in your use of Twitter, okay? And I know I didn't get the chance to talk about trends, but you can see it right now on the left-hand side, and these are popular topics that are being spoken of on Twitter. The ones that have a pound sign before it are actual hashtags. The ones that don't are just a topic in itself, okay? You can click on any one of those to see tweets that are being displayed about that hashtag, okay? You can also change the trends. Mine are just showing from New York, but I can have what's popular in Harrisburg, what's popular in Baltimore, what's popular in Boston. And this is a way to grab sentiment from a particular place about a topic. So you can search a trend in a particular place to see what's being said about it. Okay. There's a lot more. I'm telling you, we really didn't have time to go over a lot. I didn't even get to the advanced search feature as well. So I could probably see a part 2 to this, maybe at a later time, if not shorter. Sure. Jody's just mentioning that she is trying to work on scheduling a webinar just on hashtags, and I could probably give a part 2 webinar on other functions of Twitter. Like I said, we didn't get to the direct messages or to the search function as well, which could be valuable. So I could see giving maybe a half-hour webinar in short time where we go over those other functions. Okay. Another question? Sure. That question is, what are the benefits of having a list? And number 2, who can see the list? So the first question, I think the main benefit is that you're managing your stream. Because again, if you have 3,000 people you're following, none of them are in lists, and they're all different kinds of one is sports, one is movie, one is entertainment, one is news, then you're not going to be able to slice out all of those that are about news. You're not going to be able to slice out all the ones that are about sports or et cetera, and be able to see those in one place. So if you want to be able to see all the tweets from a particular, what's the word I'm looking for, from a particular category of users, that's why you want to make lists. Or else you're going to go through your feed looking for all these, okay, who's tweeting from the UN today? And then you'll have to comb through 1,000 tweets to find that. Now, who can see it? That's up to you. When you create the list, it will give you, I'll try to show real quick. I go up to my name, list, create a list, right-hand side, and then here's the privacy, public or private. Do you want to keep the list private for you so nobody can see or become a member of it? Click on private. If you want other people to be able to see it and and follow it, then leave it public. I think it's a way to pick up followers, too. If I go to somebody's page and I see that they have some really cool lists, I might follow them just because this person is interested in the same kind of topics I am, and I want to get their tweets. I want to get their tweets, not the tweets from the people in their list, So that's another benefit to it as well. Okay. Other questions? Yep. Your feed is unmanageable because you don't have any lists. So no, you don't have. So we had the question. Somebody said, "Well, I'm following a lot of people, and my stream on my homepage is unmanageable. I can't find anybody." If you look at my homepage too, I'll show it to you. It's all over the place. Social media. Here's some, newspapers. Here's some UN. Here's some sports, and so that's unmanageable. So what you have to do is you don't have to follow them. What you can do, and what I was doing, which took me hours, and I'm still not done, is to go to your followers, click on the followers. Here are all the people I'm following. and I have to go to the cogwheel one by one and add them to a list. So again, imagine if you had to do that for 1,000 people. Hours. You go to followers. Oh, I'm sorry about that. No. I'm sorry about that, Donna. Thank you. Yeah. You go to the people you're following. Excuse me. Thank you. The people I'm following, right? And then I have to, again, one by one, through the cogwheel. Bam, bam, bam. So, how many followers do you have? How many people are you following? Hopefully it's not 500 or 1,000, because then you got a lot of work ahead of you. I'm now going to stop sharing the screen, okay? How about any other questions from people out there in the field? Anybody want to ask a question? You can put your hand up and I'll toss you the microphone. I know it's at 10:20. I could be here up until 10:30 if need be, if you want to ask any other questions. Okay, so doesn't really look like there are any other questions left. I think we'll come to a close now. You can at any time feel free. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do one of my best practices, and that's I'm going to ask you all for a follow on Twitter. Okay, and I'll follow you back. Don't worry about it. That's a great way for all of us to increase our following, right? So if you, I would suggest that too. But share your username in the chat box, or follow me on Twitter at D Haddam. Here it is again. I'm going to try to send that out in the chat box. And I would encourage everybody here to follow each other on Twitter as a way of increasing your following. Okay, so we've come to the end. We're going to leave the chat box open in case anybody wants to type in their Twitter username. We're going to close the session in about 5 minutes. Again, these files are available to you here for download. They will be available shortly within the Unite Connections community that we have on the social web, and I can send them to you by email if need be. You can also ask questions, follow-up questions about any of these through Twitter or through the email. And we apologize for the testing here. It's horrible. We know. We're sorry, and it's kind of beyond our control here, so we really appreciate you all being patient and putting up with that. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody. You all have a great day. Oh, yeah. I did, I got the three things. I was just Did you find it user-friendly or no? Yeah, I think, basically, I think agreed about it. Yeah. Just went through it, just like every test plate that I thought just to see. I had some little videos around, work and stuff, but I just, actually, maybe we can really make this point to you. Sure, yeah.